Now, this coming mass meditation. All right, so I'll just have to get into some quick background about the deal with solar eclipses, where, you know, there's a big shadow cast by the moon, really, that gets in front of the sun, in between the sun and the earth. So, in 2017, I think it was August 21st, there was that huge and, as always, pivotal full solar eclipse right across the United States, right? The key, the freedom key of the planet. And and there was that shadow of the moon that went from the west coast to the east coast. So what shadow, you know, the physical shadow cast by the moon that's in between us and the sun, what it does is it kind of acts as a mechanism. Well, I suppose it's a physical mechanism or trigger, but the non-physical result is it brings out shadow, all the shadow stuff, which means, in this case, all the shadow and wounded aspects of the United States of America throughout its history. So things like slavery, the Democratic Party bringing back segregation after the Civil War, the cabal engineered genocide of Native Americans, and so on and so forth. You know, all the shadow aspects that presented the moon casting the shadow, triggered all that stuff, brought it all up, and gave us the golden opportunity to transmute it, and that's what we did. And, you know, although the 144K wasn't as big then as it was now, you know, I did personal work with the teams twice for many hours prior to that big solar eclipse event as part of the preparation, because there was a lot of resistance. So think about the full implications of the same kind of thing, all the shadow aspects of Antarctica going to come up. And if someone isn't there to transmute it, humanity is going to get whacked. You know, I'm not being negative. But we do have to validate that. Now, and I'm not worried about it, because I know, and you know, that we're going to be there, which means things are going to be okay. Which, again, we have to be clinical and objective. So, all right, Antarctica, you all know, that's where a lot of the bases were, the SSP bases, Dark Fleet bases, Reptilian, blah, 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 blah. You know, it was sort of like, in a lot of respects, the home base for the negative breakaway civilizations, negative ET bases, Dark Fleet bases, and all that kind of thing. But so there's that, but there's way more than that. And here's what it all comes down to: that is going to actually free our DNA, free our genetics, to reclaim our genetic history. So, at the very bottom, at the deepest, darkest end of the shadow, unresolved, wounded aspect of Antarctica, is the landing of those 3 ships that the Black Ops community named after the 3 original ships of Columbus that crash landed in Antarctica, the ones behind the original genetic shutdown. It's the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. 3 ships. For those of you who watched Cosmic Disclosure with Corey Gould and David Wilcock. You know all about this. They crash landed there. They cannibalized the technology of those 3 ships because they couldn't take off. And they proceeded, and that's where the event, which was a collective trauma on humanity, the event of genetically manipulating, well, it wasn't really manipulating, it was just shut down. Genetic shutdown, like to a 97% degree at a minimum, and mixed certain things up. That's where it all happened. That's how they created the ability and the timeline to enslave us. You know, don't think it was just the Archons and the Chimera and Draco. They're the ones, these giants with the elongated skulls. You know, what's the word? It's important I express this the right way. They inflicted the original trauma on our DNA, our genetics, through genetic manipulation, and that's how they created slaves, which, you know, they've always considered and still consider us manufactured slaves. And that's what enabled them to control us, to trick, fool, control. You know, it was a big part of the creation of the Matrix. Now, this began 50 to 60,000 years ago. They didn't do it overnight. It took them a few thousand years to make it happen because they failed the first couple of times in shutting down our genetics. So on the third go around, that's when they finally succeeded. And ultimately all they did was just shut down more genes, shut down more DNA, because we were still too powerful. And so the collective trauma was opened up there. The negative timeline where we were enslaved, the slavery timeline in that broad bottom line general sense started from there. It didn't really start from, you know, the so-called, what are they called again? Genetic engineering races, 22 engineering races that Corey Gould spoke about. You know, that was part of it. But what these giants, pre-Adamite giants, did was shut down, more so, almost complete shutdown, more so than manipulation per se. And when the solar eclipse, well, really, even before, well before the maximum of the solar eclipse begins, all of that is going to come up, and and the darkness around it. This is arguably the last big collective wounding that's had such a control over humanity ever since then, that stands in the way of DNA and genetic liberation, which means activation of our dormant powers. And to give you clarity on that, go watch any X-Men movies, go watch any, Matrix movies, Marvel's movies. It's all disclosed. You know, there's a couple of TV shows where people with I don't know if it's Netflix or Amazon Prime, whatever, where a group of people discover these amazing abilities, and they discover there's other people around the world that have these amazing abilities. There's another TV show where it's a spin-off from the Jason Bourne movies, where they're in one of those super soldier umbrella programs and they're woken up, activated, and then ordinary civilians discover they got these amazing abilities. You know, it's clearly being disclosed and has been getting disclosed. So that's, you know, a classic case of truth is stranger than fiction. So again, clearly this shows you how crucial your participation is, this solar eclipse. And again, with all respect, no one else seems to be speaking about this profound aspect of the December 4th solar eclipse. And you know, you don't find this information anywhere else. So all that history of Antarctica is going to come right up and in everyone's face if it's not cleared beforehand. And because I've been seeing quite a few stuff coming out of Antarctica even in the last meditation. So it's already boiling up, you know, it's about to burst. So that's why you're needed. That's why it's important to prepare for this. Now, it gets even bigger somehow. December 21st, 2021. And what does that have to do with December 21st, 2012 and the number 9, closure? So the number 9 means closure. All right. I'm not 100% sure if that's exactly numerology per se, but it's all about closure. And December 21st, 2012 is actually, I mean, it's different, but in other respects, it's part of the one process, part of the same energy as December 21st, 2021. All right, 2012, 2021. All 2s and 1s and 0s, just slightly different combination. All right. And connected by 9. So there's a certain process, mostly clearing process of the non-physical planes for the most part. There's other stuff as well. That sort of began on the 21st. Even though there was talented, gifted energy workers doing a lot of work on the planet before then, it sort of reached a certain, one of those things where it's time now. Okay, it's time to now clear this matrix, ascend beyond this particular matrix, or more to the point, transmute it. And there is a certain process or a certain threshold that will have been reached on the 21st of this year, 2021. So a lot of the Mayan, whether it's end of the world or whether it's beginning of the golden age or that kind of thing, that's really starting from December 21st, 2021. All right. December 21st, 2012. Again, that was the beginning process of clearing everything to the point of December 21st, 2021. And then the actual transition begins. So it's another kind of era or epoch of time, even though, you know, like it's kind of like the beginning of another cycle, because there's several different galactic, zodiac, and universal cycles that occur. You know, the zodiac side of things, which is the age of Aquarius, yes, that began on December 21st. Something else is bigger something bigger, is going to begin, and in a different sense, end on the December 21st, 2021, which, again, in terms of how we were sold 2012, that's what 2021 really was. And that's part of the reason why it was way harder than what 2012 was. So, you know, you can sort of treat this as December 21st, 2012, where we were told it's all going to end. Well, yes, this world is going to end. That's when this world truly will end. And the golden age actually begins at a high universal cycle. And it's 9 years exactly from December 21st, 2012 to December 21st, 2021. 9 years exactly. What does 9 mean? Closure. Something is going to close, end. Of something that is the same kind of 2012 sort of energies, our original understanding of 2012. So upon doing our job on December 4th, Solar Eclipse, where we not just liberate the sacred human genetics, the genetic royalty, as Alex Collier famously coined, doing that before December 21st, 2012, by really clearing Antarctica and its entire history, will then put us on the timeline where, well, a better way to put it is it'll lift us above the timeline and therefore shut down the timeline where our genetics were shut down and we were enslaved. We'll have the opportunity to shut down and completely erase that timeline. On December 4th, coming in 2 days. Now you know why you need to prepare and make sure you're there. And that's this, and believe me, this is what's going to allow the actualized transition into the golden age on December 21st, 2012, that'll begin to truly actualize itself on the physical plane even.